And China has accused 4 senior members of a Myanmar-based telecoms fraud syndicate, part of a sweeping crackdown on cross-border scam networks. The Shenzhen court said the 4 were linked to the bi-family criminal group operating in northern Myanmar's Kokang region. Authorities said the group engaged in fraud, murder, kidnapping, extortion, and forced prostitution. One member was also accused of trafficking large quantities of methamphetamine. The group's actions reportedly led to 6 deaths and multiple injuries. The executions follow similar action last week against another scam syndicate, signaling Beijing's intensifying efforts to dismantle criminal networks targeting Chinese citizens abroad. Now, Ejike Okpa is a global affairs analyst, and I have him joining me now from Texas to discuss the latest developments in China. Many thanks, Ejike, for joining us once again. Always a pleasure to have you on the show. So, Ejike, Tang Yijun's life sentence. Let's talk about that. It highlights China's crackdown on graft. Now, how significant is this case in the broader anti-corruption drive under Xi Jinping?
Good question. Every government, corruption is something that one individual don't do. It's something always between 2 people, or a person and a business. But even a business is still represented by people. So if you don't address the issue of graft or corruption, you are going to undermine the credibility of a government, and then the trust factors start to get eroded. So if China decided to do this, even though some people might say it's a political crackdown, the fact is you don't want public officials to be using their position to do things that undermines credibility, erodes trust, and make everybody feel like, oh, it's one of these pay to play kind of stuff. So I welcome it. Corruption is not good, but it's harder to eradicate, but you can minimize it. And when you find people in high places that have engaged in it, the best way to deal with them is to have a severe punishment on them, so maybe other people may get deterred. But it's a human thing. If you close this door, they're going to find another way to get in and get it done. But it's always good when governments stands firm to fight corruption.
Ejike, I'm wondering how the Chinese people actually, what level of trust they have in their justice institutions with these kinds of big profile cases and convictions. Do you think that it improves, or do you think that they have big trust in the justice institution, judicial institution?
Trust has to be earned. It's not automatic. But in your opening, you said this thing went on for a decade. So how come it took 10 years? That's a decade. Took 10 years for them to find out this guy was doing what he was doing. Was it because they wanted to build enough evidence, or were they giving him an opportunity to retract and then he didn't do it, and then finally they caught him, and now they are he's sentenced. So I think this is one of those things, nip it in the bud. Don't let it, become, a tradition. We have a saying back in the old country where they say, if you allow bad behavior to go on for a long time unchallenged, it becomes a tradition. Corruption is always something somebody will try to do and see if I can get away with it. And if they get away with it and nobody's doing anything, then it becomes a tradition. And I would like to see that happen in Nigeria. I would like to see that happen in developing countries, because that's what erodes the confidence even for citizens in that country and foreigners to come in and want to do business, or the foreigners will take advantage of it, knowing that I can just come in with an envelope, a bag of money, and get whatever I want and turn around and leave.
It might have taken a decade, but they did execute 4 members of the Bai family, and I'm wondering whether these harsh penalties like death sentences effectively deter organized crime in China. And I'm going to bring it to Nigeria in a bit, but do you think that this serves as good deterrent?
Well, I mean, it does, but again, deterrent can be a season. It comes in, it blows off, and then some other people that are committed to crime are going to figure out a way to do it and try to get away with it. But it's law enforcement is not something you do, you fold your hands. It's a 24/7. You have to watch, programs and policies to make sure you catch the thief, because the thief always going to have 2 steps ahead of you. So for you to beat the thief, you have to have 3 steps ahead of them. You got to be ahead of them. You have have anticipated what are they going to do. And once you say it, you pounce on them, because that serves as a better deterrent than waiting for the after the fact, and then you try them. You say, oh, well, it's 10 years ago. Why didn't they do it? So you got to get in front of it and make sure that, when person evidence, convinces that this person has to be convicted, then you step on them.
Mm-hmm.
There are no sacred cows in this kind of stuff. Even the president, if you remember, South Korea for a while was being laughed at by the international community, until they went back and rounded up all former presidents, prime ministers, tried them and sentenced them. And that's when people now begin to look at.
Do you think that would be effective? Do you think that would be effective in an African climb? Do you think if you round up all former presidents in let's say in a Nigerian climb, do you think that this would inspire countries like Nigeria and also maybe even countries around Africa to perhaps take more seriously their judicial systems?
Of course it will. Of course it will.
What are the chances that it will ever happen?
Well, because Nigerians are about strong institutions, individuals, not strong institutions. Is that who is going to say it? Is it the president, a current president, that's going to say it, and everybody else is going to say, "Oh, you two are involved in it"? But it is something sometimes you have to take the bull by the horn. And when you take the bull by the horn, you wrestle it to the ground. And then when you do it objectively. Because there's going to be sentiment. There are going to be people from that particular person being accused to say, "Oh, but you two did it." No, you go ahead and do it. Just look at the case of Dizani, Alice Malike. And even before Dizani was done 80. What has Nigeria done? Nigeria should have stepped forward and said it to this country: if you don't release Dizani or 80 to us, we're going to cut diplomatic relationship with you. As opposed to these people being tried overseas and then they get a deal and Nigeria is still where it is. No, Nigeria makes that profound statement: as any country that harbors any one of our former officials, we are going to cut diplomatic ties with them. And then when you say that, people are going to take you seriously. But if you just look at even former governors that have been tried, Ibori, and then it got released and back and forth. No, give us our own people, and we are going to try them locally and let the Nigerian people see them being locked up in Nigeria, not abroad.
Ejike, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Always interesting. Thank you very much for joining us on this conversation. Thank you.